Y'all, it's Mike back here in the Nerd Cave, and I'm hoping everyone out there had a fun few holidays. I know I took some time for myself between the holidays, hanging out with some family and friends, and also starting up a new job. So I had a lot going on, wasn't able to really make some videos, but I'm really excited to get back into it here. With that said, today's video is going to be a bit of a look back at 2020, tech, all of that, and a look forward at what to expect here for the rest of 2021. So, with that said, let's get right into it. 2020 definitely wasn't a normal year. Everyone around the world faced a lot of challenges, and I feel like I can't say that enough. But also for me, 2020 was a little special in that it was the year I started this channel, and I'm always gonna remember that. It's something I wanted to do for a really long time, just for fun. I've always wanted to just make videos, learn how to edit, learn more about tech, almost have an excuse to play with the tech a little bit more. And that's exactly what this is. And that's gonna be one of my biggest positive takeaways from this rough year. On the tech side of things, it was also a pretty crazy year. We had launches from AMD, both CPUs and GPUs. We had a huge GPU launch from NVIDIA as well, some solid competition going on there. And then on top of all of that, we had the new Xbox Series consoles and the PS5. There was just one issue. All of those things had one thing in common, and that's that they were almost impossible to get, it seemed like. I mean, looking at the sales right now, both PlayStation and Xbox have only been able to ship roughly 4 to 5 million units each. And as far as we can tell, those are selling out instantly. There's nothing. So hopefully across the board, that can change this year. I know some of those numbers were a little warped because of the scalpers and the bots and all of those issues, but I think either way, everything would have been selling out across the board like this. The demand is just through the roof. Hopefully supply can catch up this year. I really would like to see that, hopefully by summer. We'll talk about that a little later on in this video though. Right now, let's focus on 2020. So what else happened last year? I mean, besides the sad stuff, let's look at the positives. One of the biggest ones for me was we saw some huge advancements in TV technology, specifically HDMI 2.1 coming to a handful of TVs. And with that, a lot of higher refresh rate panels. With the combination of the two, you're seeing TVs come out with the capability of 4K 120 hertz. That means if you have a PC or one of the new consoles that can output certain games at 120 FPS, you can finally experience that in your living room. That technology won't be reserved for just the PC master race, let's say, but console gamers, laptop gamers, home theater PC gamers, anyone who wants to do that. You have so many more options, and I think we're gonna see a lot more TVs with these capabilities this coming year as well. Along with that, we also saw some juggernauts in gaming, specifically Animal Crossing. I mean, that game came out in March, right when it was needed. I mean, everyone was locked inside, but hey, you get this game, you can go to your own private island and kind of have your own little community. Your friends can come over, hang out. Whether or not it was a game for you, you can't deny how perfectly timed it was and the crazy success. It has now sold over 31 million copies since last March. It's insane. It's the second best-selling game on the Switch to this date, only behind Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which has been a pack-in title every holiday. It's mind-blowing. To follow that up though, we had two other huge juggernauts come out of left field, and that was Fall Guys first, at the beginning of summer. It was a new spin on Battle Royale, a funny, crazy platformer, and that really blew up, especially with streamers playing it a ton. And then following that, we had Among Us. These games both showed us something awesome, and that's that you don't always need a big AAA, mind-blowing graphical experience to have a hit. They were both simple titles. They could run on a potato. I mean, Among Us does run on everything. Gaming is always going to be about the experience, about the fun. Yeah, huge AAA, graphically stunning games are awesome. But the most important part in gaming at all is always the experience. Nintendo has showed us this for years, and these two games came out this year and really shined. Microsoft also made some crazy history this year with the acquisition of ZeniMax Studios that encompasses Bethesda, id Software, Arcane Studios, and a bunch of others. I mean, the IPs in here, you've got Doom, you've got the Elder Scrolls series, you've got Fallout. There's so many huge names. $7.5 billion too, this acquisition. There's been nothing like it in gaming before, and I'm really, really excited, if not just curious, to see where this goes in the coming year. Lastly, on top of it all, to finish off the year, we got Cyberpunk. Yes, the game that it seemed like we waited forever for. This game that was supposed to be the holy grail of gaming came out and disappointed millions. It's already had over 2 million refunds. Most games don't sell 2 million copies, let alone refund them. And yes, it sold insanely well, and it still got reviewed pretty well on PC, but I felt so lied to. Everything I've seen, when you look back at the trailers from 2 years ago, that stuff wasn't in the game. That was a fake trailer. And on top of that, how it ran on previous generation consoles, the consoles it was developed for, this was inexcusable. Hopefully, we don't see things like this in the future. I'm really hoping people learn from this. Developers and the bigwigs out there pushing these devs to try and get things done too quickly. Hopefully, they've learned from their mistakes. I don't know though, because the game still sold so well. Yeah, there was 2 million copies refunded. It still sold like 18 million already. So I don't know if anyone learned. Okay, that's 2020 out of the way though. Let's get to 2021 and what we have coming up. All right, so let's start off with the bad news. Get it out of the way first. Number one, PC hardware prices are gonna go through the roof right now. They already are, and I'm gonna get into that more in a future video, but that's pretty disappointing. To follow that up, GPUs, CPUs, new consoles. Still almost impossible to get, and it doesn't look like that's gonna turn around until maybe summer. And third, I still suck at video games. I can't think or aim really. No, I'm just kidding, but I mean, I'm pretty mediocre. I have a good time. There'll be some friends who definitely get that joke. All right, so the good stuff for 2021, and there's potentially a lot of it. Starting off, Nintendo just had their investors call, and they've reached 80 million in sales for the Switch. Right now, it's outpacing the PlayStation 2 by about 2 million units for this time in its life cycle. To put that in perspective, the PlayStation 2 is the best-selling console of all time with over 155 million units sold, and the Switch is currently outpacing it. With all of these sales comes games as well. And not just Nintendo. I mean, obviously, Nintendo, with those kinds of sales, they're going to be selling games too. But PlayStation and Xbox, both with the new consoles coming out and doing well, and the old trying to finish off strong, they both have some releases happening this year. Not Xbox as much. PlayStation looks to have a pretty killer lineup. With that said though, Xbox announced quite a few big IPs recently that we might not see this year. I think looking ahead to 2022, Xbox might finally be able to gain a little traction in their first party stuff, something they didn't have almost all last gen. So for all of these games, let's first take a look at what Nintendo has planned this year. We have Mario 3D World and Bowser's Fury launching just 1 week from now. I think a lot of people are going to be looking forward to that. It was a pretty good title on the Wii U, but not many people got to check it out. And then with the addition of Bowser's Fury, I'm really excited to check it out. Following that up, It's Pokemon's 25th anniversary. We've got the Pokemon Snap remake coming out at the end of April, as well as possibly Diamond and Pearl remakes at the end of the year. Really exciting there. Got Monster Hunter Rise and Monster Hunter Stories. Maybe not quite as big in the West here, but those are huge, huge franchises over in Japan. Those are system movers right there, especially Monster Hunter Rise, a main series game. Following that up, we've got a couple other anniversaries as well, with Metroid and Zelda both getting their 35th anniversary this year. Hopefully on the Metroid side of things, we'll see the Metroid Prime trilogy get a release on the Switch. I know a lot of people have been clamoring for that. I doubt we'll see Metroid Prime 4 this year, considering they had to restart development on that one. And then on the Zelda side of things, for the 35th anniversary, I can't see Nintendo not going nuts with this one. There's going to be some sort of remake or remasters, kind of like what they did with the Mario 3D collection, but I could see them going a little bigger or better with Zelda. They always put their heart and soul into Zelda. And then the Breath of the Wild sequel. Everyone's waiting for that. Personally, one of my favorite games of all time. I really, really hope that comes out by this holiday season, if not sooner. I know we were thinking it might come out last year, so I'm really hoping it's kind of ready. They're just waiting for the right time, waiting for this anniversary to launch it. PlayStation. And they too have a pretty solid lineup this year. First up, Returnal is coming out. It got delayed a little bit, but it looks like it could be a pretty cool game. More exciting though, Ratchet & Clank, A Rift Through Time. Looks to be a pretty solid game. Ratchet & Clank's always a good time. Got the new Gran Turismo game. And then to top it all off, we're supposed to be getting both Horizon Forbidden West and God of War Ragnarok this year. I'll be surprised to see both, but you never know. If they do that, it's going to put a pretty big hurt on Microsoft, I think. Those are two top-notch IPs for Sony. To drop both in the same year, absolutely crazy. Lastly, we have Microsoft, and they don't really have much planned for this year. Not really any big game releases. They just had The Medium, which I watched some reviews on it. It wasn't my type of game. I'm not big into the horror game scene, though I might try out the new Resident Evil. It looks interesting. The one thing Microsoft has, though, this year, Halo Infinite. I'm really happy they delayed it. I think they saw what happened with Cyberpunk. They've seen what happened with some other games. The negative backlash, launching a game that's not ready to be launched. If they can launch this game, hit it out of the park, give fans everything they've been waiting for, have an awesome multiplayer experience as well as a really fleshed out story that gives us something new. I think that's what the series needs. It needs to be revitalized a little bit. Maybe get that old school Halo feel, but in a new style, a new way of telling the story with the new technology, maybe a little less linear. Something like that could really set up Microsoft this generation, because Halo itself is an insane IP and an insane system seller if it's done right. The one other thing Microsoft has, not a game release this year, but Game Pass. I personally love Game Pass. It has led me to play a bunch of games I never would have tried out. For only $15 a month, and you have well over 100 games right now. And a lot of them are really, really good. If you haven't tried out Game Pass, go do it. It's $1 to sign up for your first 3 months. That's impossible to beat. And I can guarantee there's a game on there for everybody. There's also the little tidbit of the acquisition they just had. And to add on to the whole Game Pass thing, we might see some more ZeniMax titles. You know, they've already kind of sprinkled some in there, but the rest of the Elder Scrolls games, the rest of the Fallout games, all of that being added would be pretty sweet and add even more value to Game Pass. Now, I'm sure there's going to be a lot more crazy tech to talk about this year, even within the next few weeks, but I'm going to save that for some other videos. I'm gonna wrap this one up here with some channel updates. I'm currently still working on putting together the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X reviews. I didn't want to rush those or wrap them up too quickly. I wanted to let myself have time to play both of them, see what I'm going back to more, see what I like and dislike about each one. If you just kind of rush them, you're gonna take everything at, face value. Be like, wow, this is awesome, or wow, this sucks. But when you really give it a chance and you use it for a few months, you can learn a lot about it. I have some really interesting things to talk about when it comes to both consoles. Hopefully I'll be wrapping those up here in the next month or so. On top of that, for the foreseeable future, I'll probably be focusing more on console, gaming, hardware, that kind of tech side of stuff, peripherals, and peripherals on the PC side, and just random tech in general. But a lot less PC builds and content focused around that, at least with PC hardware. As talked about earlier, the prices for that stuff are going through the roof. It's hard to find. It's just not in the cards for me right now. Now, if there are some good opportunities for like value builds or value PC stuff, I'll definitely take advantage of that. Anytime we can find a good deal, I want to share it with you guys. Lastly, cave conversations. That's going to be coming back strong. I have a great time doing those with my buddies, testing out new topics. I have quite a list of them now I want to go with too, and I'll probably end up publishing this as a podcast down the road, doing maybe less current news and more just broad tech topics that are just plain interesting to talk about, listen to, learn about. Good content for you guys, fun content for me to talk about with my buddies, especially the ones who are involved in that stuff in their everyday life. And I have a few friends who have been excited to get on the show and talk about that stuff. I really can't wait to see where this year takes us. If there's anything you guys want to hear me talk about in cave conversations, or maybe just a future news roundup video kind of like this one, hit me up down in the comments. And with that said, I'll see all you guys back here in the Nerd Cave very soon.